What's up and welcome to an extra short dick. Bringing you a fun-sized dansplaining today to talk about Prop 22. In a nutshell, Prop 22 determines whether or not drivers for apps like Uber, Lyft, Instacart, Postmates are categorized as employees with all the rights and protections that come with, or as independent contractors, gig workers essentially. I keep getting all this goddamn mail about it. Check out how psyched she is to lose her benefit. This all comes after a California ruling called AB 5, which found that Uber and Lyft were violating state labor law and puts them on the hook for basic labor protections and benefits which they withheld from their drivers. The companies argue that the law doesn't apply to them because they are a tech platform, not a transportation company. Now they're threatening to leave the state in a tantrum rather than be forced to classify their drivers as employees. And these scrappy little companies pulled together a record $200 million, more than any ballot measure in history, on a deliberately obscurantist ad campaign featuring testimony from real, I'm gonna say, heavily incentivized drivers.
So just simply by staying in the saddle and working hard, I'm helping to keep Los Angeles going.
And I will continue to drive through this crisis and get people to where they're going, such as doctor appointments, the hospital.
So when I see these ads, I think of this.
I'm just a regular kid who wants you to know the real truth about child labor laws, okay?
Okay.
They're silly and outdated.
We're all in this together. Please support this race to the bottom so I can go on driving essential workers to the jobs that they also can't stay home from during a pandemic because of already weakened labor law.
Prop 22 saves lives by preserving access to rideshare services across California, helping keep drunk and drug drivers off our roads. It's simple.
If Uber drivers make minimum wage, a drunk driver will kill your child. It begs the question of why they can throw around massive funding for their political agenda, but can't afford to pass those funds on to their drivers.
In the good old days, kids as young as 5 could work as they pleased, from textile factories to iron smelts. Yippee, hooray! But today, the age-old right of children to work is under attack. Boo-hoo!
I am disabled. I have a couple of medical conditions that really make it difficult to hold down a full-time job. And so I work Lyft so that I am able to go to doctor's appointments, able to take care of my daughter, able to rest.
God, this one is really heartbreaking. I can't wear this and be serious. Besides basic protections for disabled workers, which should provide a safety net for someone living under precarious circumstances like these, the benefits of employee status, which this measure is actively trying to dodge, would include things like health insurance, paid sick and family leave, and workers' compensation. In order to get into the app where they make their living, drivers had to click through a pop-up which said, Prop 22 is progress. Yes on Prop 22, or okay. And they used this to claim, by a ratio of 4-to-1, drivers support Prop 22. There's now already a class action lawsuit of drivers suing the companies for using coercion and scare tactics to force their support for the measure. Under the US's already gutted labor laws, classification as independent contractors denies drivers a right to unionization and collective bargaining. However, last year, Uber and Lyft drivers went on a massive nationwide general strike, making more or less the same demands that this proposition is attacking. The ads get away with saying things like vote yes on 22 to give drivers health benefits, because the proposition includes some conciliatory compromise of offering stingy limited benefits on their terms, which are much smaller than what drivers would get under existing labor law. What is this? Benefits for ants? The real hypocrisy is that Uber and Lyft do categorize their employees as employees on the tech side of the company, if you're sitting behind a desk. Just not on the driver's side, if you're behind the wheel. Now I'm seeing all these flashy graphic design posters in my neighborhood that are quickly getting vandalized. This one's important because it sets a precedent for the future of work, where you exist in this weird, dystopian, precarious, liminal space of quasi-employment with fewer and fewer rights, benefits, or job security. A future where a tech company owns your car or your house and you have to pay it off driving people on Uber or renting out a room on Airbnb, or you live in a WeWork and eat soylent until the system deems us no longer profitable and we get ground up to make more soylent for the interns. Since the last recession, the administrations that have come and gone have boasted of job creation, but something like 80 or 90% of those jobs were gig economy, gig economy jobs. Now, if you're like me, anyone else who has spent their life working in the gig economy knows it's no fucking picnic. God, I look tired. This is a perfect example of a failure of the free market premise of privatized disruption of a pre-existing industry, and the failure of the mythical job creator. There's this Koch brothers Cato Institute paradigm of lobbying for libertarian erosion of governmental protections and labor rights, then turning around and saying, look, the system has failed you, and the answer is to let private technocratic corporations be the new government. The ad campaign warns that people will lose their jobs if the measure doesn't pass. But Uber and Lyft never mourned the loss of jobs in the industries that they disrupted. But if they do leave the state, something better up to the task of paying its workers should, by their logic, ostensibly take their place. There will always be a need for transportation and a market for drivers, but companies like this operate at massive losses with the end game of only becoming profitable once they push out all competition and achieve relative monopoly, whereupon they can operate as they please, unchallenged and unregulated. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to pass, and if passed, the proposition contains a sneaky little caveat that in order to be amended in the future, it requires an unprecedented 7/8 supermajority in the legislature. That fucking sucks. Now, I don't usually do the like and share thing, but if you do know anyone who is a California voter and has not voted yet, I encourage you to send them this or any information that helps clarify what is a deliberately misleading ballot measure and make sure that they know what they're voting for. Also, if you happen to be in the the Bay Area of California, put in a vote for Dean Preston for city supervisor. I campaigned for Dean last year during the D5 election, and since that time, Dean has passed by far the most consummate renter protections nationwide during the COVID crisis. Not only has he made it illegal to evict someone for rents missed due to COVID, but he has a measure on the ballot which, if passed, will tax the most high-end expensive land development in the city to literally pay your rent if you missed it due to COVID. Anyway, tip your drivers. And that's your fun-sized, bite-sized dansplaining for today. Eat my ass.